Hi, I'm Randy McLean, the president of Waypoint Analytics, and we're discussing the various tactics and techniques on what to do about some of this profit-based segmentation that Waypoint provides. So when I'm looking at the segmentation report of the high-value accounts or high-volume accounts reports, one of the groups I'm seeing is the high-potential accounts, the HPAs. Now, these are high potential because they already produce superior cash flow rates. Problem is their expense rates are too high, and so they don't provide an awful lot of bottom line. They're marginally profitable accounts, but they do produce good levels of volume. So it's important, I think, for us to think about how to capitalize on these accounts. And so the overall objective is basically to convert them into HEA and HLA accounts by reducing the amount of expenditures that we have or the expense rates that we have with these accounts. When we're looking at the conversions, we already have a good conversion rate of revenue into operating cash, looking at measuring that by margin and how much gross profit dollars are being produced. But we don't have a very good conversion rate of revenue into bottom line. And the reason why is the expense rate on these accounts is too high for the margins that they're getting. And so there can be two reasons why this happens. And the most common reason is that we're underpricing the accounts for the amount of services that they're taking. We're basically allowing them to buy smaller quantities of product more frequently, generating an awful lot of pick, pack, ship operations and a lot of transport operations, given the smaller amount of gross profit that's being produced. And so they're a little bit out of bounds or out of where we would like them to be if they were one of our more valued accounts. So what we have to do is we have to increase the spread on those accounts by either increasing the amount of gross profit that's being produced or reduce the amount of expenses that are associated with the account, or a combination of those two. So when we look at the expense side, what we'd really like to do in a nutshell is get them to buy half as often, twice as much. And if we can do that, that will change the nature of the account, and they'll actually move out of the category and become an HEA or perhaps even an HLA account, and that would be very valuable. So one of the things we'd like to do is work with the accounts and maybe put some policies and some processes in place to have something for the salespeople to use to encourage the accounts to change behavior. So frequently we'll have situations where the companies have a free shipping policy, and everybody, including the customer, recognizes that the shipping's not really free. They know that it's included somewhere. We just don't happen to itemize it and put it on the invoice, but we've got to build it into the price of the product somewhere, and everybody's generally aware of that. And so some interesting opportunities that I've seen people take is they'll do things like look at the shipping policy and say, well, we have free shipping, but only on the first order each week, or only on shipments that are over $1,000, or orders that are over $1,000, and we may even have different policies for different locations. We may have a very large multi-location customer, and they have a few of their little smaller locations that don't perform so well, and we say, well, we don't do free shipping for those locations, or those locations, there's a shipping fee for those particular locations because they're far away or their orders are too small or whatever the case may be. And when we're trying to put some kind of a fee, or when we're looking at the fees on here, there's two things we're trying to accomplish. First thing is we get to add some gross profit into the deal so that it has a better chance of having enough gross profit to overcome the expenses, or there's enough operating cash for the sales there to be viable. The more important thing we're trying to do is we're trying to shift the customer's behavior so that the customer will think more in terms of, do I really want to pay that $15 shipping charge for $20 of the product that I can just as easily get tomorrow with something else? And if they start to think that way, and companies and buyers do think that way, then you will start to find them consolidating orders, which is really what it is we're trying to accomplish. Frequently, if you go to them and say, consolidate the orders, they say, forget that, it's too inconvenient for me. But later on, if there's $5 associated with the cost of not consolidating the orders, then they're saying, well, we better start consolidating the orders because if we're going to pay a $5 fee, we wanted to spread it across a bigger purchase, or we want to have fewer of those $5 fees coming in. And so obviously that can be helpful. The other thing, the other end of the spectrum is we'd like to increase the amount of cash, operating cash that comes on a particular sale. And that really means looking at the pricing. And all too often what we'll see is we're running down the ranking report and we're looking at those in Waypoint at the high potential accounts. When we get into the HPAs, as we start to see the accounts that are those high potential accounts, they have the potential to be good, but they're not so good right now. What we'll find is the margins are out of whack. For some reason, whatever it is, usually because it's part of some big enterprise that has a large aggregate volume, the margin is too low. We normally sell at a 22% margin. This guy's at 10% because it's a branch of some big company that gives us, millions of dollars worth of business. And because it's big, the customer certainly expects a better price. And we've just given it to them without first thinking about how much cost there's going to be associated with that particular piece of business. And we find that it's a higher expense business, but it has a lower price. And that balance or that imbalance is what's causing the account not to be a really valuable HEA or HLA account. It's relegated back to the profit, to the high potential accounts. It makes some money, but not very much compared to its peers. And so in those cases, we really need to move to a mindset where our price levels are driven more by our expense levels than just something else that has nothing to do with profitability, like how big the customer thinks he is, or how big a brand they have. So we have bragging rights for having the account. What we really want to do is tailor our pricing more to what the account is going to cost us, so that we can always make money on what we do. And if we always make money on everybody, we can make the same amount of money or more by making less money on our best accounts, and just making sure that we're not losing as much money or have as many underperforming profitable accounts. So that can be very important. So when we're looking at the high potential accounts, it always comes down to not enough price or too much expense. What we want to do is encourage the customer to make the relationship more efficient, and we can work with them to see that happens. And in doing that, we can move them out of the high potential category and move them into the category where their potential is being realized, where they're a high efficiency or high leverage account. So I hope this is helpful. I'll give you some things that you'll be thinking about getting started on today that can change the nature of how you interact with the accounts that are in this category. And that will raise the profit rate that you see in your branch or your total organization. So thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next video in this topic series.